And now we continue with our presentation, now looking at business engagement and application around these questions of climate and real estate and both the business and regulatory environments that are engaged. And so we are welcoming members, first a member of the Loyola Marymount Real Estate Advisory Committee, Mark Macedo, an LMU grad, a dual degree. There's a bunch of excited students here, no surprise. Well, you forced this half of the room, I forced that half of the room, I think is how this worked. Is that not correct? Okay, and Tony Liu, President of Partner Energy. Mark, if you could begin the introduction, and then while you guys go to sit down, I'll pull up the presentation.
All right, how we all doing? I know you're tired, you've been here a long time. My butt's actually numb at this moment, so I feel much better than I actually got to physically stand. Just real quick about, we get to talk about real estate now. Woo! Very happy that we get to do that. Just quick background. I was an undergraduate here. I graduated 9,322 years ago. I am old. And then I came back and was a glutton for punishment and got my MBA here as well. So I did both. And then I'm really a glutton for punishment because I'm now teaching here as an adjunct professor. Let me hear a whoop from the students in my class. I paid them to do that with extra credit points, so I'm not that popular, trust me. They just took the midterm, they know. So, I've been involved in the real estate business, both on the finance side and development side for 25 years. I started a private equity firm called Hanover Financial, turned it into a $5 billion private equity firm and sold that. I'm now a dreaded developer building apartments here in the city of Los Angeles. So, many of the incidents with the prior present people who are presenting, we deal with every day. We deal with the homeless situation every day. We deal with sustainability of product every day. We deal with trying to build LEED certified and energy efficient buildings in a very expensive market to build in. We try to deal with the city on a daily basis about its entitlement and permit process to get product faster out to the marketplace. So we balance all of that, and it's very difficult. And it really takes a private and public partnership of private developers and public entities to help the process go more smoothly, more efficiently, so we can help alleviate a lot of the sustainability issues that we have. So today, what we thought we'd do, and that's enough about me and what I do, but today I brought a gentleman here by the name of Tony Liu. Give him a hand. Tony, I could tell you that I taught him everything I didn't want him to know. But Tony did work for me for a number of years in the private equity world, and is a true entrepreneur. After gaining some great experience, and he'll tell a little bit about him, I'll read his bio, but after a little bit of experience, he started his own firm that's a sister company of a company called Partners Engineering. Partners Engineering is a very important part of the real estate development and sustainability business today. Right now, it's one of the top firms. They have the nationwide offices, over 800 employees. And Tony's job, and started the company, his portion of the business started 10 years ago, was to literally deal with sustainability and how real estate developers and owners and operators can change from that carbon footprint to something better, and try to have that net zero carbon footprint in buildings. And he's going to talk a little bit about why we developers do it, because it is energy efficient, it's ethically correct to do, and morally right, as we say. But it's also become, in our business, hip to be LEED certified. And that's important, to have buildings that are LEED certified, that have zero carbon footprint in the world. And so it's a double-edged sword, but on a good way. That sometimes it's a change. Real estate is like a big, gigantic Titanic boat It moves. If you need it to turn left or turn right, it takes a long time for that boat to go. It is not a speedboat that can turn in an hour and a half. And that's just the process of, talking to Long Beach about the age of their buildings. Just the renovation portion of their buildings is an incredible amount of work to do. Very difficult, very long time process, so nothing moves quickly. But we try. And Tony started his company realizing that there's this opportunity to really help real estate be sustainable. So he's going to talk a little bit about his company. I'm going to read you very quickly, since we've been here a while, his bio. But Tony Liu has served as president of Partner Engineering since founding the company in 2009. Partner Engineering Partner Energy is a leading provider of energy efficient engineering and sustainability consulting services. His professional experience includes acquisition, underwriting, private equity when he worked for me, as well as sales and marketing. He talks all over about sustainability, about how sustainability is being implemented in real estate. He writes articles and blogs, and he's like the most famous guy I know. He holds an MBA from the University of Southern California, which I don't hold him against that. And he also has a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering from Cornell, which is very important in the engineering business. So I'm going to hand it over to Tony. You're going to change that, and please welcome Tony Liu.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you for the opportunity. So Mark gave you a little bit of background. So we are consultants, and I want to pitch this industry for you guys, right? We've heard a lot of different speakers from various walks of life, from public, from private sector, from nonprofits. We hire, it's not a recruiting pitch, but for us to do our job, we look for everyone, right? It takes a village to be successful in this business, to accomplish the goals that a lot of people have outlined here, right? I have 5 MBAs that work at Partner Energy. We have about 20 engineers, professional engineers, we have architects, we have policy people, we have sustainability consultants, we have environmental engineers. So we have everyone in all walks of life, because energy efficiency, sustainability does take a lot of different people. So for all of you, with all your different majors, really consider this, because I know this is one of the biggest growing fields and needs good people to help us achieve what we want to try to achieve. So what we as consultants do is, we've heard from cities, we've heard from government, we've heard from entrepreneurs. What we as consultants try to do is we work with industry people, really this role right here. And we help them to find the most cost-effective way to meet some of the goals that are imposed here, right? There are carrots out there and there are sticks out there, to quote Professor Theus there, to encourage industry to be more efficient, to be more sustainable, right? But in the end of the day, it's all about industry that makes it happen, right? The governments can set all the rules in the world, but if it doesn't get implemented, nothing happens. Right, so this industry is all about characteristics, and that's really the gist of my presentation today, is talking about that and how it affects real estate in Los Angeles, really across the country as well. I want to go over a few terms. We are a consulting company. One of the things we do is green certifications. What green certifications are is basically we assess a building, how it's built, how it's operated, and we consider different factors. We look about different strategies about energy efficiency, sustainability, CO2 emission reductions, improved indoor air quality, stewardship of resources, location and transportation, impact to the environment. So we certify a building about how they consider this when it's being built and how it's operated. So that's green certification. Benchmarking. This is like losing weight. It's like kind of weighing yourself every day. Benchmarking is the activity of tracking how energy and water is being used at a particular property, right? So multifamily, we look at energy use and water use across the year. So we look at gas, electric, water, and then we compare it to buildings of like use, right? So buildings in the same city, buildings, high-rise, low-rise, mid-rise, garden style. So we look at all these things and compare how buildings use energy, right? So if you want to reduce energy consumption, you got to measure, and that's what benchmarking is. An energy and water audit. So this is typically a physical assessment. It's a physical assessment where a building professional comes on site and assesses how energy and water is being used and makes recommendations. The recommendations typically include ways to reduce energy and water, obviously, but we include items like useful life. We include items like cost, energy saving, cost savings, rebates and incentives, and payback, right? So if you look at it, energy and water audit is a business plan for property owners on how to cost effectively implement creative projects that reduce energy and water use and meet some of these goals that cities are trying to impose. And other places are trying to incentivize. I want to talk about incentives a little bit here today too. And then retro commissioning is really taking a building and fine tuning the way it works to optimize efficiency and sustainability. So those are terms. So drivers, right? We would like to believe these are the drivers for energy efficiency and sustainability commercials. It's good for the environment. It's good for property. It saves money. It's the right thing to do. This is why I started Quantum Energy. We were really small for many, many years. This does not move the needle. It didn't move the needle. You can knock on a lot of doors. It doesn't really go anywhere. The drivers that really grew the industry and moved needles were these three things, right? We talk about financing, right? It's all about economics. And financing, and when financing gets involved, either whole property level or project level, and these financing are trying to turn things get done. So I'll talk a little bit about that. Compliance. We heard a lot about compliance, right? These are cities imposing limits. You know, LAEPWE, that's the LA City current regulation for benchmarking and energy audits and retro commissioning. So they're requiring that for all buildings in the city of Los Angeles. Title 24, that's our building code. Mark deals with that all day. Cal Green, you have to be, you know, a certain density, you have to have this type of lights, you have to have this water efficiency. The state ratchets is up every 3 years, right? We'll talk a little bit more about that. AB 1103, that's a statewide one, and then we'll talk about local laws in New York City. This is what it could turn into. And then we'll talk about corporate policy, right? Corporate policy, it's really when institutional capital wants something to happen and what that effects it has on real estate. We'll talk about that. So financing. So generally what this is, it's when a borrower, right? Real estate owner, borrower, it's all about, you know, how you pay for stuff. When a borrower commits to reducing property, energy, and water use, and or commits to obtaining a green certification. So when they do these things, certain things may happen for different programs. They can get capital for the whole property, construction, acquisition, or refinance. One option. Another option, they can reduce the interest rate for the property acquisition or refinance. They can get additional capital for real estate construction, acquisition, refinance, or there's monetary incentives for property, system, equipment, device upgrades, and reform. So how does that work? So Fannie Mae, right? Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, really HUD. These are, they control 60% of the loans for multifamily in the nation. They came up with a green loan program. Essentially what they're offering was a discount on interest rate. The discount was anywhere from 5 now, so it's not a big program, but in its peak about 5 months ago, they're already offering 40 basis points off. 40 basis points off a $20 million loan, huge amount of money. That's 20, double that, that's 40, right? That's a lot of money. That bridges the split incentive between owners wanting to just simply upgrade items that pertain to what they have to pay for versus the tenant, right? $80,000 a year on 40 basis points, that moves the needle. Right? This is for the life of the loan. If you're holding for 10, 15 years, $80,000 a year is a payback to that, in addition to the payback of these items. So what they required was two things. Reduce energy and or water use for some portion of by 30% over the current condition. We did that by ordering energy audit during the due diligence phase. The energy audit gave you a list of items on how to reduce energy and water, and the owner would pick the most creative ones and what made sense for them. Sometimes, you know, items at end of useful life were getting replaced anyway, so they did that anyway. And they have to commit to annual benchmarking for the life of the loan, and they obtained that. So this is a carrot, right? This was a carrot. This resulted in about 2,000 to 3,000 loans being generated over the past 2 to 3 years that had substantial reduction in energy and water use. So this moved the needle, right? It's and this is a benefit to everyone. It was a benefit to tenants, it was a benefit to owners, and it was certainly a benefit for the goals until our current administration changed priorities. But we won't get into that right now. Low-income housing tax credits. So this is a program, we talked about a lot of the low-income housing and the need for it today. So there is sustainability built in. We believe there is a nexus between kind of affordability and sustainability. So in many states, through a qualified allocation plan, it determines how developers can qualify for federal tax credits as administered through the state. And generally, there's a couple of criteria here. Basically, for new construction, they have to get green certification. So we talked about LEED certification, Green Point rated. So again, they're making them actually build to a higher standard. And then for existing buildings, if you commit to reducing energy consumption by a certain percentage, you can qualify for these funds. In addition to a lot of other things, right? These are just a little bit of point system. You know, the reality of it is, for a lot of these new construction projects, affordable housing projects in the state of California, I believe they're more resilient than traditional commercial development because they needed to do this as part of the funds. So you get better properties, you get a way to finance it, and you're satisfying the need for housing and so on. SBA, Small Business Administration. This was a loan product that was developed about 9 years ago. Basically, if a borrower committed to either using 15% renewable energy or reducing the energy consumption of property by 10%, they can increase the debenture from $5 million to $16.5 million. So SBA loan, common is kind of small businesses buying their corporate headquarters. Limited service hotels. This is a lot of limited service hotels are financed through SBA 504. So they're great loan terms, and because of this green program, developers are able to develop 2, 3, 4, 5 buildings as opposed to 1 or 2 based upon the loan, right? So again, these are all carrots. Reduce energy, be more sustainable, utilize renewable energy, and we'll give you more financing, right? And this is a classic example of it's a government partnership, right? It's a little bit of a government and private partnership to incentivize efficiency. So that's the financing. So these are all carrots. So, let me rebate program. So interesting enough, utilities have a massive amount of money. California has a $2 billion fund managed by the CPUC to encourage energy efficiency and sustainability in the state of California. 0.001% of every dollar you pay goes to this fund, right? It's kind of odd. Why would you have a utility company who makes money through selling electricity manage the rebate program? Well, the answer is simple. It's actually a hell of a lot cheaper to reduce demand than it is to generate new supply, right? Santa Onofre shutdown. We are constantly having, well, this is a different reason, but there are, our infrastructure in America is at its brink, right? In certain areas, not everywhere, but Northeast, certainly in California, our capacity is not there. Population is growing, demand is growing, it's getting hotter, demand for air conditioning is higher, so on and so forth, right? So it's cheaper for utilities to reduce demand than it is to generate new supply. That's why they do this. So they provide monetary compensation, right? So there's 2 ways of doing it. It's here's free light bulbs, here's free thermostats, here's free local devices, or they have a performance base. Where they say, hey, if you take an existing building, reduce by 20% of electricity and gas, there's $1 per therm, $1 per water, $1 per gallon incentive. So this is the other carrot that's being made available. So sticks. We talked about this a little bit already. So compliance, it's generally run by a city, state, municipality, county, and it's responsibility for the owners. The typical requirement is to benchmark, like I mentioned, this is track energy and water use, to commit to perform energy audits or retro commissioning on your properties, and then in certain areas meet certain performance criteria. Why? Why are we burdening folks with this? The thought is, if we give people data about how their building's performing, we give people data about cost-effective ways to reduce energy use, they'll act upon it. That's it. So, and then the other way is making them do it through fines and penalties. So that's what's happening, right? So fines and penalties for non-compliance. Unfortunately, a lot of this is driven by penalties, right? The state of California through AB 802 and the initial version was AB 1103, which was passed in 2007, required that all properties above 50,000 square feet disclose their energy usage. It was initially a bond transaction, now it's to the state. There is about 10% compliance, 5% compliance. There's no penalty, right? The city of LA requires something, and the penalty is no compliance. You get put on a shame list, and perhaps they'll hold up your permits. So that's been the other penalty here. So Title 24, again, this is sort of compliance with how the state mandates or brings up, typically for new construction or substantial rehab. All you developers know Title 24 well. Basically, it's updated, it sets a minimum performance or material selection for every new construction, right? Now we're talking about net zero. Now we're talking about carbon zero, net carbon zero. So these are the rules that they impose to get the new building stock more efficient. And also something that's rehab. But which is good and dandy. I think it's important to do that. But just remember, right? We're contributing 1 to 2% of the existing stock through new construction. 99%, 98% of our building stock is existing buildings. That's where the issues are. That's where the impact's going to be. Right? It's great we have a few of these, but I think a lot of it's on the existing building side. So AB 802, what this exists today, compliance is near none. All buildings, including residential, over 50,000 square feet, they have to benchmark annually, and they have to report by June 1st every year to the State of California Energy Commission their energy source. That's that rule. Los Angeles EPUE. This is for buildings located in the city of Los Angeles. For all buildings, including residential, over 20,000 square feet, they need annual energy and water benchmarking. So you go to LADWP, you ask for your energy bills, you put in the Energy Star Portfolio Manager, and you get a score. And then they want energy and water audits and retro commission every 5 years. This needs to be reported to the Department of City. The penalty is $1,500, $1,200 per property. This compliance is not bad, and plus you're on a list if you don't comply. And then the city reserves the right to do. They haven't done anything. But if you're submitting some data to this Department of City and Department of Building and Safety, you need a permit from those guys. You may want to take care of that. So this is where it could go. Right? This is New York City. New York City just passed their new Green Deal. I'm interested in learning more about what the city of LA is going to pass. But really what they require is benchmarking annually. They need energy audits and retro commission every 5 years. They're taking a step further. There's a performance requirement. They've been doing benchmarking for 5-6 years, so they have a lot of data. And what they did was they set a cap. Every single property tab is a cap per square foot of carbon emissions. So by 2030, you have to hit that cap. Otherwise, there's a penalty on a per ton. We think this will be a little bit more highly adapted. Reason being, if you don't report, the current fine is 50 cents per square foot per month. 200,000 square foot building is $1.2 million if you don't report. Lie, you report and say, hey, I'm all good, $500,000. If you report, but you didn't hit the metric, we were doing a bunch of analysis, that fine is anywhere from 3 figures to 4 figures, maybe 5 figures at the worst. It's a hell of a lot less than the first two, and then if you meet it, obviously there's 0. So this compliance, we feel, will be higher, right? It's hard for me not to say this. Don't shoot the messenger. This is what's coming out. And what I'm saying here is that there's reasons of I'm further encouraging folks to be in this industry. This takes everyone, right? Policy people need to get into this industry, right? To make good policy that can be enacted. From my perspective, we have tons of policy people because we need to explain all these things. These are complicated as hell. Right? We have a bunch of MBAs sitting around doing presentations, real estate guys, trying to explain to them how to take advantage of loan programs and why they should be compliant with this. You need engineers. You need engineers to make good decisions about what's available to fix and improve. So this is the last one. And this is corporate drivers. So what is ESG? ESG is kind of a buzzword. It's environmental, social, and governance. It's a policy that corporations adopt, right? So it governs how businesses operate. Governance is like, hey, let's not bribe officials to get projects. That's a good governance. Let's have a environmental policy. We want to reduce energy consumption by X%, right? So these are the type of policies that companies adopt. So why is this important, right? So when I was working for Mark, for one phase of it, I was going around the country, going to pension fund advisors and asking for money. What do they all ask for, right? So we want $100 million, all right? So give me a pitch book. What's in the pitch book? We talked about what type of investment type we're doing. We're going to do JV equity, right? What type of assets? You know, we're going to do multifamily. We'll probably do some ground-up office, so on and so forth, right? We're going to do this in the Western region. You told me a business plan. What's your return? You know what? JV equity was giving, 10%. I don't know what it is anymore, but let's just say 10% cash on cash. And what's your experience doing this? Then it stopped. Today, ESG is one of the pages you kind of have, right? If you want CalSTRS, CalPERS, TIA, CREF money, you have to have this line item. But we've been fortunate enough to work with some of the largest real estate owners in the country. And one of them, we sat together with 7 regional engineers and 120 property managers to talk about efficiency on their properties, right? They basically said that, hey, we're competing for funds with a lot of really good and experienced people. And if we don't continue doing what we're doing, which is benchmarking, energy audits, tracking projects, reducing consumption, we will not be able to raise the money we want to raise. So you can treat this however you want, right? You can look at this as, hey, this is good. Like, it's their prerogative as investors in who identify fund managers who invest in real estate to have this requirement, right? You can look at it as a cost of getting funds from this source, or you can think that folks that consider this are good operators. They're looking at the long term. They're looking at total value, and it's in general the first slide. I wanted to go back. It's the right thing to do. It makes sense. And it's good for the environment.
Any questions? A lot of great information, Tony. Thank you so very much for sharing that. Really the way in which you build a business around responding to this, and one of the key drivers really, both about kind of matching, as we've said, both kind of environmental goals and public policy goals with the specifics of how you service the real estate industry through your consulting practice. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.